Welcome, chat. Welcome, everyone, to Grand Prix Talk. We are starting our live stream a little bit early. That's just because I'm doing final setups here for the show ahead this afternoon. We got a great show coming up today regarding the Italian Grand Prix. That's how we're going to start things off. We're going to do like a quick recap of all the news and such, and regarding like recent race occurrences, both on and off the track in Formula One. And after that, we're going to talk all about the Italian Grand Prix. So should be in for a great show today. Glad y'all are tuning in. You can also tune in at 22westradio.com. That is 22westradio.com, the official website of 22west, with whom I'm doing this podcast / live radio show with. Other than that, welcome to the show, everybody. Nice to hear from y'all. Nice of y'all to tune in. Thank you for tuning in advance. Let's get the show on the road here shortly. I'm going to mute things in the meantime. I will unmute once we get the show running. The main reason is because on the radio stream, I do play music. It's copyrighted, and I don't want to risk YouTube strikes, obviously. Those are never fun. But beyond that, we are ready. So I'm going to mute for now. We will be back here shortly for the start of Grand Prix Talk Season 3. Tristan, good to hear from you, dog. Thank you for tuning into the show. How you doing, man? Again, thanks for tuning in. We're just about to get started here, so you're right on time, man. Spread the word. You're good. You just had dinner out with the family. What was for dinner, man? How did it all go? Also, I can confirm the headphones work, so we're pretty much set and ready to go here. So we should be in for a good show. Oh, also the mic is on. That's good. Everything is good. Okay, awesome. I think we're ready to get going here. So anyway, if I go mute or something, that's only because I'm waiting on the radio stream, because I also live stream on the radio as well, not just here on YouTube. But that being said, we're gonna mute here shortly. All right, chat. We're just about to get going here in a little bit. We got a little less than a minute or so before we can officially start the show. Just a heads up before we go any further. I do plan later on this season of Grand Prix Talk to split up the podcast and make it into like smaller chunks. So we're gonna try out different formats this season, and hopefully that goes well. We'll just have to see and wait. We'll just have to wait and see what happens as we adjust this camera, which is actually an iMac, a MacBook, if you'd believe it. And just looking at the sheer size of this MacBook, here is my iPad for comparison, which virtually fits in the size of it fits in my pocket. That's how small this thing is. This MacBook that I'm talking to you guys from, on the other hand, does not, obviously. But anyway, it's showtime, everybody. So you can stay here. I greatly appreciate it. Otherwise, tune in at 22sradio.com so you can hear the music that I'm playing also. Other than that, it's showtime, y'all. We should be in for a great season. Let's get it underway. Oh, that little pit stop transition, that sounds to me like that's my cue to begin. So, for the first time in season 3, it's great to say, welcome everybody to Grand Prix Talk, the show that provides a gas station hot dog mindset to the Beef Wellington world of motorsport. Beef Wellington, by the way, for those who don't know, is a signature dish of Gordon Ramsay's, only my favorite chef in the world, you know? You've probably heard of that guy. But yeah, so that's how I got the name Beef Wellington. It's actually from Gordon Ramsay himself. Anyway, welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Sergio Morales. Welcome to Grand Prix Talk, everyone. It's great to be back with you all again for the start of a new season of Grand Prix Talk here on 22S Radio. First off, we got to share how we can actually reach out to you guys. First way we reach out to you guys is here on YouTube. So welcome to my viewers on YouTube. If you aren't already aware, I actually stream my show on YouTube at TheSergioShow. That is my main channel. So shout out to those who are tuning in through there. Other ways you can tune in are online at 22sradio.com or the 22S Radio app, now available on the App Store and Google Play. You can look all those up, and you can follow us at 22SLB on Instagram. You can follow me at SMortsportsX on Instagram. That is SMORstagram. Well, first off, I just want to say welcome to the show, everybody. It's the start of a new season here at Grand Prix Talk, and it's so good to be back here in the studio. Don't get me wrong, I've had a lot of fun this summer, but it is very nice to be back in the studio again after a full summer recharge and everything. It's good to be back in the studio, ready to share a bunch of knowledge of motorsport, my opinions, all that good jazz. So I guess first off, we start off with an introduction because we're back for the first time in what feels like several months away. So if you're new, if you're listening to Grand Prix Talk for the first time ever, a very warm welcome to you all. It's great that you guys are tuning in for the first time. You guys are in for a lot of fun. For my returning listeners or my YouTube subscribers, welcome back to the show. Great to be with you all once again. This is going to be a weekly show. So I think actually, first off, I got to break down what this show even is and who I am, because we're going to be spending quite a bit of time together this semester, every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So, like I said, I'm Sergio Morales. I am the host of Grand Prix Talk. I've been doing this show. This is going to be my second year here at Cal State Long Beach, and also my second year doing this show overall. My first time was actually late September of last year, so 2023, just about a month before the U.S. Grand Prix, which I ended up being lucky to be able to go to. But that being said, yeah, this is my second year here at Cal State Long Beach. I'm studying communications, and I'm just one of y'all. I just happen to have a lot of love for motorsports, for car racing in general. I've been watching NASCAR since 2010 and Formula One and IndyCar since 2012. So I've been watching since the days that Sebastian Vettel was just absolutely tearing up the track in that Red Bull between 2010 and 13. That was when I first walked into the Formula One race scene. And I don't know, man, it's just something so cool about loud cars going fast and all that good jazz. Like, it was just really cool. So I've been at it since 2010 for NASCAR. And like I said, for Formula One and IndyCar since 2012. But the main focus of this show of Grand Prix Talk is Formula One racing. And the main reason behind that is that you really don't got to look too far off. Formula One is seeing a massive boom in popularity here in the United States over the past few years. You know, it's not so much far-fetched anymore to be able to hear someone casually talk about their favorite team in Formula One or to dog on Red Bull for being led by, admittedly, an idiot. I'm sorry, Elle, but someone's got to take care of that. But anyway, that being said, yeah, so I've been at it for quite a while, and I'm here to share my knowledge, my opinions, all that type of good stuff with all of you here at 22 West and here at Cal State Long Beach. So, yeah, that's basically like a little quick introduction as to who I am and what we plan to do here on the show. Now, we're going to break down the show this season. We're trying out different things. Last year, we actually focused on all types of different motorsport levels, which I do continue to plan to do that. But what I want to try out now is I want to try focusing each episode on one category of racing. Granted, we will still do like quick recaps of other past race results as of recently, but for each episode, we will mainly focus on one category of racing, depending on who's out on the track. Like this weekend, we had everyone go to the races. NASCAR was racing, IndyCar was racing, F1 was out there on the track. So we'll quickly recap NASCAR and IndyCar, but then we'll mainly focus on F1. Similarly, next week, NASCAR is going to be the only one out on track. So we're going to talk about how that race goes. And then the following week, when IndyCar crowns a champion at Nashville, we're going to be talking mainly about that one. But we will still bring up topics regarding F1 and NASCAR. But that's basically how it's going to go. Let me know what you guys think. Like I said, I am on Instagram at SMortsportsgram, SMortsportsgram. And if you follow me on YouTube, well, if you don't already, I invite you to subscribe to my channel, TheSergioShow. That is where I will also be able to keep in touch with you guys. Over on my YouTube channel, I also do a lot of motorsports related stuff. My biggest project is a stop motion racing project known as the SMortorsports/AMC Theaters IndyCar Series. AMC is not sponsoring this. This is just some way of me catching attention, but it will be rebranded to the SMortorsports IndyCar Series pretty soon. That being said, that is basically how we break it down. So the show itself was going to start off. Now we can break down how the show is going to go for this season. So we're going to start the show off with a brief history lesson, both off-track and on-track history regarding the date that the show goes live. Then we're going to go into Before We Roll, which is basically a recap of some news out in the world of motorsports. And believe me, there are a lot this past weekend. And then we dive into the actual meat and potatoes of the race weekend, which is like FP1, FP2, all that good stuff. And then we talk about the main race itself. So, like I said, feel free to let me know regarding any feedback that you might have on how I can make this show better for y'all. I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube. And yeah, by all means, go ahead and let me know what you guys think as we go about the season. So, now that I've introduced you all to what Grand Prix Talk is going to be and all that, like I said, and before I forget, this show is going to go live Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So, like right now, it is 2:11 p.m. here in the Pacific Coast, here in Los Angeles County. So that's when you can expect this show to go live every week, Tuesdays. And if you're subscribed to my YouTube channel, then you can also watch the show on replay after the matter. This is mainly the live stream, but I have had people ask if it was going to be a podcast or something. Not yet, but in the meantime, we do have it here on YouTube where we can actually rewatch the show or just listen in, have it on in the background. Greatly appreciate it. And yeah, now with that, we can begin this first episode of Grand Prix Talk, starting off with Today in History. So, like I said, we're breaking down some quick history facts, a quick history lesson before we dive into all the racing stuff. So today in history, off the track, today is September 3rd, 2024. Today off track, on September 3rd, 1914, Pope Benedict XV is named to the papacy, otherwise known as the head of the Catholic Church. His pontificate took place during World War I. He declared neutrality of the Holy See, otherwise known as the Vatican City, which, if you guys didn't know, that place is actually a city/country in and of itself, which I thought was really interesting. So using this position of neutrality, he actually attempted to mediate peace between warring sides during 1916 and 17. That is until his passing on January 22nd, 1922, after which Pope Pius I hope I said that right. If I didn't, I am so sorry in advance. Pope Pius the 11th on February 6, 1922 would succeed Pope Benedict 15. Now, on track history, on September 3rd, 1950, driver Nino Farina would become the first ever Formula One drivers' champion at that year's Italian Grand Prix. That year, he was driving for Alfa Romeo. You may have heard of this little brand. It's a little red team from Italy. It's not Ferrari. I'll tell you that much. It's Alfa Romeo. To this day, Nino Farina is the only driver in Formula One history who has ever won the Drivers' Championship at his home race. I went on Google yesterday trying to gather the facts for today's show, and it turns out that when I asked it if there have been other drivers who have won the Drivers' Championship, like the overall Drivers' Championship in F1, if they've ever done anything like this, well, it gave me that they actually won their home race, not the overall Drivers' Championship at their home race. So there's that for you. For example, it did mark like recent home race winners like Lewis Hamilton winning the British Grand Prix some time ago and Charles Leclerc winning Monaco. Hey, Charles Leclerc, have we not heard of this guy before? Yeah. But yeah, those are your on-track and off-track history facts for today. Now we can start to dig into what on earth has been going on in and around the Italian Grand Prix this weekend. So first off, by the way, I want to point out that most of my information comes from motorsport.com. So make sure you tune into them as well. First off, Renault employees, otherwise known as Alpine, because of how their engine supply and deal, how their team is set up. It's actually called Alpine, but Renault is actually the main engine supplier, or so they think. Anyway, Renault employees are not very happy right now, and they haven't been since the beginning of the Italian Grand Prix weekend. I mean, then again, we also had this little dilemma with Haas regarding, hey, you kind of need to pay up before you can actually go to the next race, because Haas had this little thing with Uralkali, who were their previous title sponsor, but they didn't pay them what was their due because of their invasion of Ukraine. Now, that being said, Renault kind of finds himself in a similar situation where their employees are not very happy with how the team is being managed amidst an uncertain future, because rumor has it that Renault/Alpine might actually not be so happy right now. Like, it doesn't look very good for them. I'll actually pull up the link here, and now I can actually tell you with full clarity because I took notes, yes, and I could always be better at taking notes. So, according to motorsport.com, left in limbo by their parent company, the employees of Renault's Under Threat Formula One engine program are making their voices heard at the Italian Grand Prix. Renault chief Luca De Meo is currently working through plans to abandon the brand's longtime F1 engine program in France and switch to Mercedes customer engines for its Alpine branded works team instead, which to me is really just unthinkable. Honestly, I'm surprised Renault is even thinking about switching to Mercedes customer power plants. That's something I would have never thought of before, but that is kind of what's going on. And Renault employees are making it very loud and clear they are not happy with how this is all being managed. And to be honest, I don't really blame them. If I was them, I would probably also push back. Now, if this decision were to go through, then Renault would actually be leaving the Formula One grid, meaning bringing an end to a 47-year-long era of Renault engines roaring on the F1 grid. Now, they've been active in Formula One since 1979, if you'd believe it. And during that tenure between 1979 and now, they have won 178 Grand Prix, including 9 under the Tag Heuer name, which happened with Red Bull, back when they were Aston Martin Red Bull Racing with Honda. And prior to that, they were just like Red Bull Racing with Tag Heuer. Tag Heuer, by the way, is a watch manufacturer. Not like this Apple Watch that I have here. We're talking like full-on luxury watches. The type of watches that would cost me my entire rent. Yeah, it's that kind of watch. Anyway, yeah, they've been able to take on the likes of Williams, Benetton, and Red Bull since the 1990s. All of that, though, seems like it might actually not end very well for our dogs at Renault. We will see what happens then. But that is something that I found very interesting. But do you know who else isn't so happy regarding how things are going in Formula One? It's a little German brand called Audi. They are not very happy either regarding their performance, or actually not their performance, but rather that of Sauber, who are currently in Formula One. But as we all know, or for those who don't already know, Audi is set to come into Formula One in 2026, taking over Sauber's place. But Audi currently is admitting that it cannot accept Sauber's current F1 performances. This, again, is according to motorsport.com. If I say it's motorsport.com, yeah, I will otherwise indicate if it's not from motorsport.com. But Mattia Binotto, the new Formula One, the new Audi F1 operating chief and chief technical officer, he was once the head of Ferrari. More on them shortly. But Mattia Binotto has admitted that the current Sauber squad's performances are something it cannot accept. German manufacturer Audi has been working on building the foundations it needs for its official arrival as a works team in 2026, but they're still watching with close eyes, it seems, how Sauber is currently performing, and it turns out they're not very happy about it. Sauber currently is 10th and final position in the F1 Constructors' Championship, and so far they are the only team that have failed to score any points at all during this season. I'll give you guys a little bit of context because I'm actually going to break down quickly the constructor standings as things currently stand, but only with regards to how Sauber is doing compared to the rest. Now, let's remember that Logan Sargent sadly got kicked off of Williams, but since then, Williams, well, not even since then, during this whole season, Williams have scored 6 points. They are currently in 9th place in the constructor standings. And like I said, Sauber currently doesn't have any points at all. They're 10th and last in the constructor standings. So Mattia Binotto isn't very happy, and quite frankly, I can't really blame him, but at the same time, it's like they can't do too much until Audi themselves come in. So we'll see what happens then. Should be very interesting to watch, but as things currently stand, Audi isn't very happy, and I don't know, man. It's not looking good for them right now, but who knows, right? Maybe Audi can break things and make it a little bit better. Now, on another side of the Formula One paddock, we actually have news that Ferrari are actually about to end their title partnership with Santander. For those who don't know, Santander is actually a Spanish bank, and they've been with Ferrari for a long time. In fact, I remember when I first started watching Formula One, whenever I saw Ferrari compete, I also saw Santander alongside of them. And so to me, this is really just a huge blow in my humble opinion. But here is a statement from Ferrari themselves. Ferrari announces the termination of the partnership between themselves, their wholly owned subsidiary, and Santander, effective as of December 31st of 2024, since the committed 3-year contract will end. The partnership, which began in January 2022, after a previous collaboration from 2010 to 2017, saw Santander alongside our company in the sporting activities of the Prancing Horse. Santander has been a premium partner of Scuderia Ferrari in Formula One and has been our partner in the Le Mans Hypercar program. Lorenzo Giorgetti, Chief Racing Revenue Officer of Ferrari, comments, "As our successful partnership with Santander comes to its end, we would like to express our gratitude for their dedication and collaboration during our journey together. They've played an important role in contributing to our achievements over the past 3 years." Similarly, Juan Manuel Sendoya, Global Head of Communications, Corporate Marketing, and Research of Santander, and Vice Chair of Santander Spain, said, "We are extremely grateful to Ferrari for their partnership over the past 3 years. Sponsorships play an important role in engaging with clients and reinforcing our brand, and we will continue to work with a range of partners in years ahead." So it's kind of a mutual breakup, I guess you can say, but one that admittedly, I still feel like, what a bummer, honestly. It feels like the end of an era seeing Ferrari and Santander break up. But that being said, their contract was coming to an end, and it doesn't look like there's any animosity between these two. So for me, I guess you could say it's a satisfying conclusion to an era, so to speak. I presume. I hope. Hopefully it doesn't end up being like a whole Haas-Rich Energy situation. But nah, it's looking pretty good. It just really does feel like the end of an era. So yeah, there is your rundown of news covering off the track. here in a little bit after this quick not even commercial break. This is just more of a song break if you ask me, because I like to play music in my show. Specifically, I like Korean pop and electronic dance music. Now that being said, if you want to listen in to the songs that I play on the studio here at 22 West during my radio show, I'll actually post a link to the playlist both on my Instagram and my YouTube channel, so you can check out all the songs that I play here on the radio show. And for those of you who are tuned into YouTube, well, yeah, you already know the dilemma. Copyright structure, extremely annoying. But yeah, so after this quick break, sorry, I had to run to the pet shop and get both dog food and cat food. Hey, don't worry about it, man. It's all good. Don't worry about it. We appreciate you coming back to the show right on time. But anyway, crew, we will be right back after a little bit of John Sumi. This is another song that I really have not been able to get enough of all summer long. This is Fast Forward by John Sumi, after which we will talk all about the Italian Grand Prix. So stay with us, team. We'll be right back. Don't worry about it, dude. It's all good. It's all good. Things happen, and I am going to mute. Is there a way to pause the stream, by the way? Because I'm not sure if there actually is. I didn't even know you could edit. Oh, wow. Okay, this is dope. I didn't realize you could actually... And you can share the screen? Oh, but... Okay, I have to open the system settings. Okay, well. Oh, but you can. Okay. What? Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out how all this works. Honestly, I'm so curiously poking around this MacBook, and it turns out you actually can share the screen, and you can actually watch not only my screen, but the overall screen here on the MacBook, which I think is just fantastic. But that being said, we'll be right back here shortly. I'm going to hit mute. Let me know what you guys are up to in the meantime. That was Fast Forward by John Somi. Again, a song that I just really have not had enough of all summer long. It's been one of my favorites. Along with Peggy Go with Find the Way, which was a song that kicked off this show today. Yeah, actually, hang on a moment. We got a message coming in from PC. That is Party Collective. Hang on a moment, y'all. There you have it. So that's Party Collective. Assuming I'm pretty sure it'll return. But in the meantime, that is another show that we have here at 22 West. So be sure to check Party Collective out sometime later on. Welcome back to Grand Prix Talk, everybody. We are back and we're discussing the Italian Grand Prix. Oh, also, thank you very much, Tristan, for the approval on that intro. It's very good. Appreciate you guys for your support in the editing. So just for a little context, I just reacted to one of my buddies who is tuning into the show right now. He and I are doing a collab on my YouTube channel, so be sure to stick around for that. I'll share details on that as I go. Like I said, my YouTube channel's got all the good stuff. So be sure to go over there. Okay, now let's break down the Italian Grand Prix because my goodness, it had so much going for it. And I'm pretty sure this is going to go down as possibly one of the more memorable races of the season. So before the on track action even begun, there was a lot of stuff to talk about off the track. First off, we went back to kilometers, sadly. Logan Sargent, as we know, is not competing in Formula One anymore as of today, as of currently, actually. He was swapped out at Williams in favor of Argentinian rookie Franco Colapinto, who, I mean, we're going to talk about this guy here shortly. But that being said, Logan Sargent's out, so we're going back to kilometers. Franco Colapinto is in. He's going to drive the Williams number 43 alongside Alex Albon, who continues to stay with Williams through 2026. Additionally, we're going to see another new driver walk into the F1 paddock starting from 2025 onwards. We already have Jack Doohan, who's going to be driving for Alpine next year. We can add another rookie to the list, as it's been announced, Benvenuti in Mercedes, Andrea Kimi Antonelli. He'll be racing for Mercedes alongside George Russell in 2025. Now, with these news in mind, surely, especially if you're a rookie in F1, things are pretty exciting, right? It's going to be a great first session on the track, so you would think. FP1 got underway, and goodness me, there was some rough welcomes there. During FP1, Andrea Kimi Antonelli actually did go off to the racetrack for the first time in a Formula One car. Unfortunately, the session ended in a crash for our dog, as he spun out of control at the Parabolica section of the racetrack. Now, after the crash, Toto Wolff, the head of Mercedes, even he was assuring of Kimi Antonelli, saying, "All good, Kimi, all good." And hey, honestly, I feel bad for the lad because this is supposed to be like such an exciting moment for him. And I hate that it ended like that, the way it did. But I have no doubt that, it's a learning curve. So I'm willing to give him a little leeway. I do wonder if signing him with Mercedes was the right call, though, especially when you consider the fact that a more experienced driver and a certified race winner in Carlos Sainz has signed with Williams. There was some comments on YouTube saying that maybe Williams should have signed Kimi Antonelli, since Andrea Kimi Antonelli is still with Mercedes under their development program and such. So it would have been better if Kimi Antonelli went to Williams first, put Carlos Sainz at Mercedes, and then maybe swap them out, or I don't know, once Kimi Antonelli really can prove himself. But in the meantime, yeah, that's just how it is. And honestly, I don't know, man. I feel like there's already just a lot of pressure on Antonelli. And I'm just hoping for the best for him, but we will have to wait and see how things go. But as of now, even despite the FP1 crash that he had, he still signed with Mercedes for 2025. So we'll see how that goes. But I don't doubt that maybe Carlos Sainz and Antonelli, they're going to swap at some point in 2025 or 26. I really don't doubt it. Anyway, that being said, another newbie driver, that being Franco Colapinto, also went off the track, but he actually kept the car off the wall. And that was really, those two moments were the big talkabouts as far as FP1 goes. Our top three following free practice one in Italy were, in third place, Lando Norris, second place, Charles Leclerc, and the fastest lap of free practice one was Max Verstappen, setting a lap time of 1 minute 21.676. Charles Leclerc in second place set just 0.2 off of Verstappen. And so did Norris, for that matter, in third. Free practice 2 happened later on that same day. And it turns out it wasn't just the rookies who were struggling with the newly repaved surface or something like that. It was the newly reworked surface at Autodromo Nazionale Monza. And it turns out it wasn't just the rookies who were struggling out on track, as Kevin Magnussen also hit the wall during free practice 2 and 3. I said 3 drivers actually went off the track at turn 1. They all struggled, those being Esteban Ocon, Sergio Perez, and Franco Colapinto. They all struggled at turn 1, the chicane, but only Colapinto actually locked up. The other two actually just went off the track. Fortunately, none of these drivers actually crashed. They just had their little hiccups there at turn 1. And that's really all there is to be noted at free practice 2. Sorry, not free practice 1, free practice 2. During free practice 2, though, that was about the most noteworthy moment. Our top 3, however, did look a little bit different. Our top 3 at the end of free practice 2, Lewis Hamilton with a lap time of 1 minute 20.738, topped the charts at the end of free practice 2. Lando Norris was in second place by a painfully, sorrowfully, awfully close 0.003 seconds off of Lewis Hamilton. Carlos Sainz, who finished third at the end of free practice 2, was 1/10 off. In free practice 3, a lot of experience happened to pay off this time around, as both Williams finished in the top 10. There really wasn't much to talk about in free practice 3, except, like I said, the 2 Williams cars. Both of them finished in the top 10 at the end of free practice 3, with Alex Albon in P8 and Rookie Colapinto in P9. Hamilton would once again top the charts at the end of free practice 3, but his teammate George Russell would be second place, and Charles Leclerc would take third place. Hamilton set the fastest lap with a 1 minute 20.117 at the end of free practice 3, with George Russell, his teammate, 9/100ths of a second off, and Charles Leclerc in third place, 1/10 of a second off. So there you go. That is free practice 3. I gotta say, practice at Monza this weekend was surprisingly entertaining. Like I said, I do hate it for Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Like that really did suck. And if I was in his position, I'm not sure if I would really be doing much better. I mean, obviously, I'm not really one to be built for Formula One race cars. I'm just some dude at the 22 West studio here in Long Beach. So, something, I guess. But hey, we'll see what happens with Antonelli and all of them. It'll be very interesting finding out. Anyway, during qualifying, at this point, I'm really just going to lay out the starting lineup, and then we will break down and analyze the race. So, our starting lineup for the Italian Grand Prix, we're going to start off with 16th through 20th place. Actually, we're going to go backwards. Starting from 20th and going up to first place. That's how we're going to do it here every time we talk about a race. So, 20th and 19th places, that's where Sauber actually had the undesirable title of locking out the last row on the grid for the start of the Italian Grand Prix. Zhou Guanyu would start 20th, Valtteri Bottas would start in 19th place. Franco Colapinto would start 18th with Lance Stroll 17th, and Yuki Tsunoda for RB would start 16th. Those 5 got eliminated at the end of the first session during qualifying. Now moving on to qualifying session 2. Starting 15th would be for Alpine, Esteban Ocon, and starting 14th would be Pierre Gasly. So that they actually locked out that row in a sense. Starting 13th would be Kevin Magnussen, and starting 12th, Daniel Ricciardo, with Fernando Alonso just missing out on the top 10. He would start 11th. And last but not least, we're going to dive into our top 10 now, going from 10th through 1st. Nico Hülkenberg would start the race in 10th, Alex Albon 9th, Sergio Perez in 8th, Max Verstappen would start the race in 7th, with Lewis Hamilton qualifying in 6th place. 5th place would see Carlos Sainz line up there, and Charles Leclerc would line up 4th. These two are the Ferrari drivers, so keep an eye on them. We're going to talk about them here shortly. 3rd place would see George Russell line up there, and meanwhile, at the front of the field, it was an all-McLaren front row lockout. Oscar Piastri would start 2nd, and Lando Norris would get the pole position for the start of the Italian Grand Prix. He set a lap time of 1 minute 19.327 en route to that pole position. Okay. Yeah, that's how qualifying went, and goodness me, I forgot how much blabbering there is going on when it comes to actually talking about this. So let's dive into the race now, shall we? We got to break down this race here because, goodness me, there was quite a bit to talk about. So, at lights out, McLaren and Lando Norris actually had a good start. The race got underway. McLaren's Lando Norris actually got away well, or so we thought. Lando would end up losing 2 spots to Charles Leclerc and to his teammate Oscar Piastri. The latter of the two would take the lead at the start of the race, while the Haas cars of both Nico Hülkenberg and Kevin Magnussen would go ahead and kick up some gravel because they felt like it, I guess. I don't know, but that's what happened at the start of the race. We're going to fast forward to lap number 5, where there was a little bit of contact between Nico Hülkenberg and Yuki Tsunoda. Hulkenberg actually locked up going into the turn 1 chicane, which led to the contact between himself and Tsunoda. Not much to report there. Fortunately, both cars were able to continue along, and there went the rest of the way for these two. Starting from lap 11, we would actually see the first of 3 instances where Sergio Perez and George Russell would actually be battling it out. I was surprised at how good the racing was between these two. Like, I actually really enjoyed seeing these two go at it because they were racing hard and racing each other clean. I'd say it was great. In lap 11, the first of those 3 instances that I'm talking about, they actually started, they were battling for 7th place, if you'd believe it. They went into turn 1. Both were surprising. Both, like I said, the racing was very close, but also very clean. Kevin Magnussen, meanwhile, got past Daniel Ricciardo for 11th place in the field. During lap 15, we would see some strategy start to play out as Lando Norris tried to do the classic box to overtake. The problem was that he would lock up his tires and actually hit one of the pit boards going into pit lane. Somehow, though, he got away without any penalty, so it looks like he wasn't speeding after all. It was just him goofing it up right before going into pit lane. Charles Leclerc would pit 1 lap later on lap number 16. Lap number 18, a couple laps later after that, this is when things get extremely messy, particularly for one Kevin Magnussen, who would make some slight contact with Pierre Gasly. And it's not like it was that big of a crash either. Like, it really wasn't that much. It was the tires that hit each other. I'll actually try and visualize it for my YouTube crowd. It really was just a little bit of a pan. Kind of like what you see in NASCAR more often than not. Well, Formula One did not see it the same way. This little bit of contact between Pierre Gasly and Kevin Magnussen landed K-Mag with some penalty points, a 10-second time penalty in the race, a penalty point, and because he had accumulated enough penalty points throughout the season, by the end of this race, he actually had the 12 penalty points that actually got him banned from competing in Baku in a couple weeks' time, which is the next Formula One race. We'll talk more about that after breaking down the Italian Grand Prix. Now, Pierre Gasly himself actually defended Kevin Magnussen, saying it was a nothing incident. It was fine, you know? And frankly, after watching the incident, I have to agree. I don't think the penalty is really justified, but hey, what do I know, right? Like I said, I'm just some dude at the 22 West studio. So now we're going to fast forward from lap 18 to lap number 31, where it's the second instance of George Russell versus Sergio Perez. This time, though, they're battling for 6th place, after which George Russell would go off the track at the chicane, and then he immediately started racing Sergio Perez right afterward. So I'll try to break it down for you. George Russell goes off the track at the turn 1 chicane. Now, generally, if you do something like that and you somehow gain an advantage when doing so, you have to slow down in order to give back the position, and then you can go racing again. Well, that's kind of what George Russell did, and well, Sergio Perez wasn't exactly pleased with that, as George Russell, like, almost immediately, like, as soon as the car was right behind, as soon as George Russell was behind Sergio Perez, like, right away, that he immediately tried to start racing Perez again. I think it was fine, you know. I'm not really sure if I agree with Checo on, you know, why is he immediately racing me. Unless the rules state otherwise that you're not allowed to do that, by all means, I think if I was in that place, I kind of would have done what George Russell would have done. So not really much to report there, if I'm being honest. But that's just my take on it, honestly. Again, I'd have to know if the rules say otherwise. But anyway, yeah, so that's lap number 31. Let's move on to lap number 33 as Lando Norris would pit for the second time. Oh, no. Oh, geez. If you're wondering why I reacted like that as soon as I mentioned Lando Norris pitting a second time, just wait. Lap number 38, Sergio Perez and George Russell going at it again, this time for 8th place, and George Russell would actually keep it, at least at that moment. We'll dive into the race results here shortly, because we're getting in on the end of the race here. And on lap number 39, the following lap after Lando Norris had pitted, actually, no. Lando had pitted on lap number 33, excuse me. On lap 39, Oscar Piastri, his teammate, would also pit. So McLaren opted for a 2-stop strategy, and their second pit stop came later on in the race. It looked like it might have paid off, though. Maybe. So we were thinking, right? Because on lap number 41, Lando Norris was a man on a mission throughout lap 41 all the way to the finish line. So I'll break it down. Lando Norris overtook Max Verstappen for fourth place on lap number 41. Teammate Oscar Piastri overtook Carlos Sainz for second on lap number 45. Lando Norris would also overtake Carlos Sainz on lap 48, moving him up to third place. The McLarens are now running second and third. Second and third. Surely that means that there's somebody else at the top of the field, right? Well, it turns out it was Charles Leclerc, who only pit once the entire race, the entire duration of the race. He only had to pit it one time. And it turns out that Ferrari did not Ferrari. If you'd believe it, a strategy, a bold move by Ferrari, a strategy call actually paid off for the boys in red, because Charles Leclerc would end up taking that one set of tires that he swapped out all the way to the checkered flag on lap number 53. Charles Leclerc would go home a winner again of the Italian Grand Prix. Congrats to Charles, and I'm very pleasantly surprised by Ferrari actually, like, their strategy actually paid off. I like, honestly, like, even Matt P1 from Matt and Tommy, even that guy is like, no tires went boom, the engine didn't explode. Charles Leclerc actually won the Italian Grand Prix. And to be honest, I'm just kind of like, hey, you know what? Well deserved, I suppose. Well deserved. For once, their strategy actually paid off. And you know what? It's all good. It's all good, I presume. Charles Leclerc would win the Italian Grand Prix. It's his second win of the season. The first came at the Monaco Grand Prix, which is his home race. So Charles Leclerc and home races this season just seems to be working, as he take both of them. Monaco, which is his own home race, and then the Italian Grand Prix, which is his team's home race, specifically in Monza. So there's Charles Leclerc taking his second win of the season. McLaren were just kind of left to wonder what on earth had happened. They finished second and third respectively, much to my own heartbreak, because if it's not Red Bull for me, it's McLaren. I'm a fan of two teams. One of them did not do very well. The other was oh so painfully, woefully, awfully close. Oscar Piastri would take second place, 2.6 seconds behind winner Leclerc, and Lando Norris would come home in third place, 6 seconds behind the leader, the winner, Charles Leclerc. Carlos Sainz, the other Ferrari driver, in his last race with Ferrari at the Italian Grand Prix, in his last Italian Grand Prix with Ferrari, he would come home in fourth place ahead of Lewis Hamilton, who finished fifth. The rest of the top 10 consists of Max Verstappen in sixth, George Russell in seventh, Sergio Perez in eighth, Alexander Albon ninth, and Kevin Magnussen finishing in 10th, accumulating 1 point in both the Drivers' Championship and 1 penalty point, which that's not the one that you really want to have. The rest of your race results, 11th through 15th, went to Fernando Alonso in 11th, Franco Colapinto in 12th. Pretty solid debut considering he started 18th, 19th? Good stuff, Franco. 13th went to Daniel Ricciardo, 14th to Esteban Ocon, 15th went to Pierre Gasly. The rest of your race results, 16th went to Valtteri Bottas, 17th to Nico Hulkenberg, Zhou Guanyu 18th, and Lance Stroll would be the last car to finish the race, as Yuki Tsunoda would not be classified. He retired on lap number 7 with a mechanical issue. So there is that for y'all. Now, I'll be right back because I need to take a breather and I need a little bit of water. So here's a little bit of Karol G and Tiesto, a song called Contigo, which is Spanish for with you. We'll be right back to recap everything on Grand Prix Talk. Stay with us. All right, I will be right back. Now that we've recapped the whole Italian Grand Prix, I'll give my reactions and preview the upcoming action in Baku. Right after this, I will return here shortly. I need some water. Yo, did this camera actually open up again? I just quickly wanted to get some water. I intended to put this up, but I guess it didn't stick. Anyway, back to the show. I know that song came under fire because it's actually just a complete rework of another song. It's called Bleeding Love. I forgot who made it, if I'm being honest. I'm sorry in advance. But that being said, it's a good song, honestly. That was Contigo, aka With You, by Karol G and Tiesto. So to wrap up today's edition of Grand Prix Talk, my overall reaction to the race, to the Italian Grand Prix, my total reaction is that was bonkers. Mamma mia, mamma mia. In the words of our boy Charles Leclerc, that was quite something, honestly. So my take on it is, like I said, I'm very happy for Ferrari, seeing that their strategy actually played out very well, very much in their favor. Because I had my Tifosi era back when Sebastian Vettel was driving for Ferrari around 2017, 18, 19, around there. Yeah, so I had that. That was quite something. And I'll be honest with y'all, it was a painful time to be a Ferrari fan. Just seeing Sebastian Vettel get so close to that championship, and it never did happen. It sucks. It sucks so much. But that being said, yeah. So it's good to see that Ferrari actually. It looks like they're actually getting back on top? Question mark? Like they're actually starting to be competitive again. I mean, that's what we said earlier in the season when we had Carlos Sainz win at Australia and Charles Leclerc winning in Monaco. So I don't know. It might just be a one-hit wonder, or it might just be the beginning of Ferrari's competing against McLaren for the top spot on the podium again, just like it was so many years ago. We might just be going back in time with this one. Very interesting to find out. We'll wait and see. But I'd say well-deserved victory for Ferrari and Charles Leclerc. But like I said, it came at the expense of my other team being McLaren. See, as I said earlier, I'm a dude of two teams, Red Bull and McLaren. I mentioned this to someone. I was up in Lake Tahoe this weekend, and someone who was working the roller coaster up in Lake Tahoe. It's not really like a Six Flags roller coaster. It's more of those roller coasters that you actually like. You handle the braking and the acceleration yourself. See, I was there this past weekend, and one of the workers there pointed out that I was wearing a racing jersey, specifically a Will Power IndyCar jersey, and I asked like if she'd watched the Italian Grand Prix that morning because it was like at 6 a.m. for us here in LA slash Lake Tahoe, so it was quite a weird time to be watching racing. But that being said, she said that no, she just watched the highlights reel and she was very happy to see Charles Leclerc take the race win. And I thought, like, yep, there's a lot of people who are celebrating Leclerc's win. For me personally, like I said, it just sucks because it came at the expense of my second team, that being McLaren. And especially given that they are on such a rise in momentum as of lately, suddenly I feel what Lando Norris is feeling, where it's like you really could have won it, and then it didn't happen. So everyone rolled the dice. Charles Leclerc and Ferrari, they rolled the dice. McLaren, they rolled the dice with the two-stop strategy. And it ended up faring the best for Ferrari and for Charles Leclerc than it did for McLaren. It's just the way it is. It sucks, but very happy for the Tifosi. As they say, grande lavoro, grazie ragazzi. Good stuff. That's all I can say. Regarding the rest of the race results, I would say, specifically talking about my other favorite team, Red Bull, I'm not really sure if they can exactly point fingers at Checo at this point, just because I feel like Max is suddenly starting to fall down in pace as well. The Red Bull Racing RB20 car, their pace is not there right now. They really Max Verstappen was quoted as saying that they need to change the entire car away from this monster before they can actually try to compete for the race win again. So we'll see, honestly. I'm not really sure. Either this is the beginning of the Red Bull downfall, or this might just be a moment in time where they're just trying to find their pace again, and they might just actually find it again, but we'll have to wait and see. Some people that I know probably don't want to hear that. They would rather Red Bull stay towards the back of the field. But I'm just kind of like, dude, I want to see all three of those teams do well. Actually, two. Red Bull and McLaren. That's just who I'm a fan of, honestly. You are allowed to root for whoever you so choose. You are still very much welcome on this show. After all, I'm just some dude at the 22 West radio studio. What can I say? It's not like I actually drive for anyone. So that is the Italian Grand Prix. The next time Formula One goes out to the racetrack, it will be in Baku, Azerbaijan for the 2024 Formula One Qatar Airways Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And that one is going to have the weirdest start time of them all here this year for us LA County race fans, because the race then will start at 4 in the morning Pacific Daylight Time. How are people going to do that? I have no idea. I'm probably just going to sleep in and then watch it on replay later because I have F1 TV Pro. So yeah, I guess I'm one of those people. But yeah, that's the Baku Grand Prix coming up September 13th, 14th, and 15th, which is right before my birthday weekend, mind you. So that should be a lot of fun. Coming up also next weekend, this is something that we actually will be talking about in length, at large next week. The NASCAR Cup Series playoffs are starting off next week. Let me see. I think they started at Atlanta. Yes, they are starting at Atlanta Motor Speedway, the Quaker State 400 available at Walmart. That race will kick off the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs Sunday, September 8th at noon here on the West Coast. That is 3 p.m. for all you East Coast listeners. That is when you'll be able to tune in to the Quaker State 400, catch the race on the USA Network, the Performance Racing Network on radio, or on Sirius XM. IndyCar will not be racing this coming weekend, but they will be crowning a champion the following weekend in Nashville, Tennessee. The Nashville Superspeedway waits for them also on September 15th. We'll be talking more about that next week on the show after recapping the action of NASCAR at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So that is Grand Prix Talk for y'all. I hope you guys enjoyed this first edition of the show. Like I said, that's our first time back in a long time, so excuse if I made some mistakes here or there. Like I said, I'm more than open to your guys' feedback on how to make this show better. You can shoot me a DM on Instagram at SMortorsports, SMortorsports. For anyone tuned in on YouTube, you can also show me, you can also let me know what you thought of the show, where I can make it better, etc., etc. They're on there as well. And like I said, if you want to listen, like I just played a few songs for you guys here on the show today. If you guys want to listen to the actual music that I played during the show itself, you actually can, as I will be posting the Spotify playlist of all the songs that I'll be playing during this season of Grand Prix Talk. The link will be available on YouTube as well. So if you haven't already done so, get subscribed to The Sergio Show, because we're not just about Grand Prix Talk on The Sergio Show. We do all kinds of things. And we're looking forward to having you all over there as well. That will do it for Grand Prix Talk this week. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this first episode of Grand Prix Talk. Next week, we will be back. We will be talking about NASCAR at Atlanta Motor Speedway and the start of the NASCAR playoffs. We will also be doing a preview of Formula One in Baku and IndyCar crowning a champion in Nashville. So stay tuned for that next week. I think next week is going to be another great episode of Grand Prix Talk. In the meantime, be sure to follow us, 22WestLB on Instagram, Smortstagram, SMORstagram on Instagram, and The Sergio Show on YouTube. My name is Sergio Morales. Thank you for tuning in to Grand Prix Talk this week. See you next week at 2 p.m. Pacific time for another episode of Grand Prix Talk. Shoot, I just remembered that I got to mute it so I don't get a copyright strike on the live stream. But anyway, that's going to do it for you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to Grand Prix Talk today. It was a lot of fun. My throat is a little dry. I need to go get some water. But yeah, get subscribed. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will catch you sometime soon. Take care, y'all.